By the end of today's episode, you'll know a 5-step, under 20-minute workflow to lock sides in fast so that you're off book, fully memorized, and audition ready without also feeling overwhelmed doing it. Welcome to the Actor's Career Compass, where we help aspiring screen actors find high-quality auditions, sign with great agents, and book major roles in legit productions. I'm your host, Martin Benson, and today I'll be covering a simple way to memorize lines fast, when to add improv so that it helps instead of hurts memorization, and the fastest recall tricks for quick turnaround on self-tapes. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, pause the video for just a moment and leave a comment. Which step is the hardest for you? Understanding what's going on in the scene, recalling the lines, or dealing with nerves when you're actually recording your self-tapes? I'm going to personally respond to as many comments as I can. All right, so let's talk about tactics to memorize lines quickly and easily. All right, so let's go through the 5 steps. First, you're going to start with what I call the comprehension method. Okay, and this shouldn't take much more than about 5 minutes. The thing is, you need to actually fully understand what's going on in the scene and anchor it to a similar situation in your own life. Okay, so what is happening in the scene? What do all the lines actually mean, right? If you don't understand something, or there's like a phrase or a word that you don't know, or if you're not clear on what they're talking about, or maybe what should have happened sort of like right before the scene starts, you need to either look it up by reading the full play or script if it's available, or if there's no way to find out, then just make up an answer to a choice. Once you fully understand what's happening in the scene and you know why each line is being said, okay, so that's about making clear choices for the scene, whether, again, those answers are already available through the rest of the script or the description of the casting call, or if they're not, you just make up something like, why would I say this here, right? Once you know what's going on in the scene and you know those whys, then you should just kind of try to think of a situation in your own life that was somewhat similar. And you want to put yourself in that mindset, basically remembering when it had happened, okay? This way you can actually feel some emotions and you link the lines to the rest of essentially your own life so that the lines actually not only stick in the short-term memory, but they're in your long-term memory. Okay, once you've done this, you've comprehended what's going on in the scene and linked it to yourself. Again, this is called the comprehension method. Then we move on to step 2, which is the letter method, okay? Now, step 1, again, 5 minutes, maybe it'll take you 10 or 15, but if you get good at this, it shouldn't really take too much longer than 5. You read the scene, if anything's unclear, just kind of figure it out, and then just try to think, is there a time in my life that I actually felt this way or went through something pretty similar, okay? Now, the letter method is step 2, and this one takes another 5-10 minutes or so, okay? So while you're in the mindset of that past memory, right? So thinking about this thing that happened in your own life, while you're in that mindset, you want to just handwrite the first letter of every single word, okay? And you want to basically keep the caps and the punctuation or line breaks in there. So you write it out, just the first letter of each word. Then what you're going to do is you're going to read the script twice out loud and then run it back using only that letter sheet that you created until you can get through the entire script twice in a row without having a peek at the actual script. Now, if it is challenging for you and you find that you haven't fully memorized the script yet, like you can't just go and walk away or whatever, remember, you're keeping your own personal past memory in mind while you're doing this, so that this whole time you're doing what's called anchoring it to something that happened in your life. Now, if that doesn't lock the lines in, then you move on to the next step. Again, each of these steps sort of builds on each other. Now, step 3 is the handwriting method, okay? So this is sort of an optional backup that'll take you another 5 or 10 minutes or so, okay? So if you're still not 100% sure if you've memorized the lines, what I recommend that you do is you try to write out the entire scene without looking at the script, okay? So you're basically going to write all of the lines down, both you and the other character. And if you get it correct, if you write out the scene and you check it and you're pretty much just on point, maybe you miss a word or two, it's fine. You can move on to the next step. If you messed up, you want to try again. Ideally, again, you should be doing this while you're kind of still reliving that past memory and feeling those emotions. This is an optional step. You don't have to do it, but it does help because what you're doing is you're sort of testing yourself and you're also kind of getting the muscle memory as you're writing it out, which does help with memorization. Now, that's sort of the bulk of the main memorization. What you can do beyond this, if you have the time, is number 4, step 4, which is the recorder method, okay? So you basically record all of the lines. You're going to do the other character's voice in your own normal, full, speaking voice. And then you're going to do your own lines, but you're going to do those kind of whispering them, right? So if the other character is saying, "Hey, how are you today?" That's how you'll record it. You use your phone or whatever you want that you're going to be able to bring with you. And you say, "Hey, how are you today?" And then your line, you'll whisper, "I'm very well, thanks. How are you?" "Oh, I'm very good. How are you?" Like whatever. I mean, just pretending that those are the lines. The reason that you're whispering your own lines is just so that when you're listening to it back, ideally you'll hear the other person's lines and then you speak your own out loud. And so your whisper doesn't mess you up. But if you do happen to forget what your line is, you can still kind of hear it by not speaking. You'll be able to hear what the actual line was supposed to be. And then essentially what you want to do if you're using the recorder method is to just play it back to yourself at least 5 or 10 times, ideally over the next day or two while you're commuting or doing chores. And again, you want to speak your own lines during the gaps. This just kind of helps you sort of really solidify the lines in your body over time, because you could work on memorization for an entire hour straight, but then like a day later, you might have forgotten it. Whereas if you work on memorization for 15 or 20 minutes, then you do it a few hours later for another 10 minutes or so, and then the next day for 10 minutes, you're going to actually have it memorized much better than if you try to do like a full hour at once. Now, the final step that you can try, and I definitely recommend this again, especially if you're going to go to an in-person audition, because it helps you be able to take direction better, and it also kind of really solidifies the lines in your body so that you're not thrown off by, let's say, the new location of the audition or seeing the casting director right there in front of you. This final step is called the variance method, okay? And what's cool is it really locks everything in by performing the lines in a really wide variety of ways, okay? So what you can do with this is you can go through your lines crazy fast, right? Then you could do it again really slow, like super slow motion. Then try it like really angry, like, oh, like you're yelling or something. And then try it like really sad, like you're crying. Or you could do it like where you're singing the lines, right? And what's going to happen is it's going to kind of break up the stiffness or the rigidity, and it's going to make recalling the lines way, way easier in all different types of situations. And like I said earlier, it can also make you take direction much more easily since you'll have performed it in so many different ways. It kind of gets you out of that like that rehearsal lock where you might find yourself on set, and because you've rehearsed it the same way over and over and over again, it becomes hard to actually change things. So this is kind of a shortcut to help with that as well. Okay. So again, as an overall recall of this or recap, what you're doing is you're kind of doing things step by step. So you want to first obviously understand what the scene is about, right? Then you're going to do that letter method because it's kind of a shortcut to help you memorize the lines fast. That might be enough. You might be good to go after that. If that doesn't work, then you're going to do the handwriting method where you're going to sort of test yourself and write out everything from the scene. And that muscle memory really helps you memorize things, right? Then Once you're past the handwriting method, it's kind of up to you if you want to take it further, but the recorder method, if you have some time for it, it just makes it like you just listen to the lines over and over and over again, and that just really locks everything in. Finally, the variance method, you could opt to do that at the very end, or you could even do that towards the beginning if you want. That one is kind of up to you where you want to place it, but it's really, really beneficial to, getting out of that feeling of being stuck and also locking the lines in. All right. So a few different techniques. It's up to you how you want to order them, but that's pretty much it for my tips on memorization. Hopefully this is helpful for you. Now, if you want to learn more about how to prep for auditions beyond just the memorization part of it, I actually recommend checking out a different episode called How to Prepare for Important Auditions Step by Step. That's episode number 32. Okay, so it's a while back. It's towards the beginning when I first started this podcast, but it's a really good episode. I dive deep on preparation strategies that not only improve your final performance, but also reduce burnout and stress. Okay, so again, it's episode 32, How to Prepare for Important Auditions Step by Step. It's on the Actor's Career Compass. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.